Hello, family. My name is James Trice, and I'm the creator of a podcast called YANA, or You Are Not Alone. You Are Not Alone is a podcast for Black men. It is more than just a podcast. It's a lifeline and a brotherhood. We're here to create a supportive, judgment-free space where Black men can have real, open conversations about what truly matters to us, from family and relationships to community, sports, culture, politics, faith, sex, race, education, and the challenges of everyday life. We dive deep into it all. Whether you're looking for advice, motivation, prayer, or just the comfort of knowing you're not walking this journey alone. YANA is here for you. This is your space to connect, grow, and be heard, because none of us are meant to do life alone. Look for new episodes weekly wherever you get your podcasts. And look for me on Instagram at jbtrice123. Welcome to YANA. Grace and peace, everyone. This is James Trice. Welcome to another episode of YANA. You Are Not Alone. It's a judgment-free safe space for Black men to come together, to be real, to be honest, to be heard, to be listened to walk this journey of life together, because we're not meant to do life alone. So I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of YANA. And today's guest, we have a friend of mine who I've been knowing this young man for quite some time, for some years now. And I'm glad I have him on the show, and I look forward to our discussion today. My brother Randy Webb. So thank you, brother, for joining us. Welcome to the show. And briefly introduce yourself and
Thank you.
tell the audience a little bit about who you are.
Well, thank you for having me on, Brother James. I really appreciate that. I hope I bring something pretty meaningful and insightful. Well, I'm just an average person. I'm from a small city outside of St. Louis, Missouri, and in the Midwest. It's an industrial city called Alton, Illinois, and has a lot of history, and I'm 60. I'll be 66 this August the 5th, God's will, and
Happy birthday, man! Coming up.
I've been married. Well, thank you. I I've been married for 42 years to my wonderful wife, Rochelle, and I'm the father of 3 kids, 4 kids. I have 5 grandkids, and nothing real special. Had some college, but I was working, and so I didn't complete a degree. I wanted to pursue a career at that time of orthodontistry when I was younger, out of high school. And I moved to Minnesota because where I'm from, a lot of the factories were laying off along the time of the right to work bill when Bill Clinton was president. And so a lot of factories were laying off. And so I found myself helping my brother-in-law who transferred here, really in the 70s, 77, but then I came back in 80, and I've been here ever since. So I am somewhat kind of feel like I'm a native of Minneapolis. So yeah,
Okay.
man, that's pretty much the bulk of who I
Okay.
am there.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. So, what are you most passionate about? What brings you joy and satisfaction?
Well, what brings me joy and satisfaction is that being born again, because when I got here in 1980, I rededicated my life to the Lord. And when I was younger, I had accepted Christ, but I didn't have a real personal relationship, any real in-depthness and, relationship. And so when I came here, I rededicated my life. And then that's when it began to really give me a understanding of God's grace and his mercy in my life. And I felt worth and value more than I ever had in my life because I really had suffered greatly from low self-esteem. And although I masked. And so a lot of people didn't know that, except for those that probably were very close to me. And, they knew, but others didn't. So that's when the long journey began of God's healing in my life. And it's been one day at a time. And I thank God for his grace and mercy. And so I'm passionate about, oh, I'm sorry. It just, I just lost you. Let me see if
I'm
I
still
can.
here. No, keep
There we
going.
go.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so, okay. And so that's what took place in 1980. And I've been on this journey with Christ ever since. So to answer your question, passionate. I'm passionate about wanting to have information, and not just information, but wanting to be the word I'm looking for is be ready to give an answer for, what I'm saying, the hope that's within me when people ask, what I'm saying, or if I see someone that the Lord would lead me and direct me to just give an encouraging word to, or to um, just encourage.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy really helping people and encouraging people.
So you talk about your
I'm a
faith, and
talk.
that's right. You talk about your faith in Jesus Christ and your love for the Lord, and you know
Yeah.
that I am a man of faith as well. My Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ, and I have a relationship with Him, and I believe it is about relationship. And how is your relationship with Jesus Christ just impacted your everyday life?
Well, for me, his grace and his mercy, because really just being able to differentiate, you know, uh, uh, working on trying to be accepted versus understanding that he's accepted me, with
Mm,
all of the flaws and the imperfections, and that he's not condemning me because of where I'm at this moment in my life. And what he is constantly reminding me of is that, it's a relationship, Randy. You know what I'm saying? Just, continue with the relationship, and I'll show you and prove to you, what I'm saying, who I am, how much I love you. And, and it's contingent upon me, because he's not behind me, pushing me. If you understand what I'm saying, he's not pushing me. What he's saying is, I'm patient. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're in an area of your life where it seems like you've been there for a while, you might be stuck. He says, well, I'm there. You know what I'm saying? I'm waiting on you. So, and I believe that sometimes people can be stuck in a place, and, God said, well, you've been there for quite some time, but I'm waiting, because you don't want to be superficial, what I'm saying,
mm-hmm.
about growth. You know what I'm saying? Because that can get you in a lot of trouble. So you just have to, say, well, God, I'm wrestling with trusting you
Mm-hmm.
in maybe some area. And God doesn't condemn you, even though you may say, well, I'm having some difficulties in trusting you in this area of my life, God. That door I'm not really ready to open up yet. And so in that, I can still sense that God is loving me even through that, even though at times I'm hard on myself, and God isn't as hard on me as sometimes I am on myself. I don't know if that makes any real
Well, it
clear
does.
sense, but
It does. Makes a lot of sense. So I think um, we're more willing to condemn ourselves than God is, because God doesn't come to condemn. Jesus said, "I come not to condemn the world, but that the world may be saved." So He didn't come to condemn us or pass judgment on us. He comes that we may have a relationship with Him, have a relationship with our Heavenly Father. That's what His ultimate purpose is not to condemn us, not to beat us down, but to say, "I love you." God is God is so good for to us that it's too good to believe, but
yes,
we have to believe to receive it. So God's wants to do uh, for us good things, but the good things He wants to do for us is really hard to believe, and that's why it's hard. It's easy for us to condemn ourselves because it's hard to believe that He's willing to forgive us of the things that we do. Uh, but again, like I said, it's so good that it's too good to believe. But we have to believe to receive it. If that makes
yes,
sense to you, right?
yes,
Um,
yeah. You
you know,
got to believe first.
you got to believe to receive it, but it's too good to believe,
Yes,
right? With our natural
wow,
mind, right? And
right.
so as a man of God, as a Christian, right, as a believer, what are you
Yeah.
most concerned about
Mhm.
right now? What are you most concerned about as a believer?
Um, Living a life of integrity before my wife, my children, my community, uh, in society, because I don't have anything else that's of great value except for Christ. Everything else is of course second to that. You know what I'm saying? And that's not my reason, but I come to understand and accept that the love of Christ is the only thing that's really going to save mankind. And I'm biased in saying that, and that's in respect to what other people believe. I don't mean to offend them, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
biased, and that's what I
Mm-hmm.
choose to live by. I choose to live by Christ, and I believe that without Christ, I think uh, things are going to be chaotic without Him in it.
Yes, yes.
I
So,
don't know how that sounds, but okay.
well, it sounds beautiful, matter of fact, brother. But let me ask this question then. So, as a man of God,
Sure.
as a black man, and as a Christian, as a believer in Jesus Christ, and a black man, what do you think is the most challenging thing about being a black man in America is, and why? And be as specific as you can. What do you think is the most
Okay.
challenging thing about being a black man in America is, and why?
That's a very good question. And I think that could be very lengthy. I'm going to start off and say with self love, and acknowledging that we have to really love one another as African American men, be patient with one another, and and serve and help one another. But that just doesn't happen. That has to be a revelation. that were been birthed in our hearts. And that's it, because if I don't love myself, it's hard to love you. And that's one of the things I suffered from as a child for so long, is always self-condemning and comparing to other kids and what have you, who I thought were the real cool ones, you know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
they had struggles, you know what I'm saying? Some of them had more struggles than I probably did. You know what I'm saying? And because the ones that I remember, uh, and looking back, um, and knowing some of their situations, it's like, wow, I compared myself to them, but they were masking as well.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right.
yeah, I know you wanted me to be specific. But I don't want to
No,
really
no,
be
you're
real
you're
specific
good.
about
You're
that,
good,
because
brother.
these are
Continue,
real
brother. You were
people.
good.
These are real people.
Yeah.
But to get back on track is that I believe that we really need to help one another really see the importance of, even if you're not going to live saved, to really help one another and support one another, and be a support to each other. I mean, individually, collectively, organizationally. I mean, just that has to be birthed in us. And, we have to, do the best we can. I mean, there's so many vehicles which would help us in that. I mean, because you have all kinds of vehicles. I mean, from smallest to men's book reading clubs to, I
Mm.
mean, activities in the community and sports and what have you. I mean, so they may seem kind of small and minute, but that's where we have to start. We have to start in a lot of the small things, because everyone's not coming to church. A lot of people don't want to hear about the church. You know what I'm saying, or hear about Jesus. This is where a lot of people are, but we still have to do our best we can morally. You know what I'm saying? Because good
Right.
morals still, I believe, are from the word of God, morally.
Yeah,
You know what I mean when I say morals,
I do.
morally, you know,
Talk more about that.
it's
What do you
still
mean
it's
when you say
still good.
more?
Anything good, anything. Um, the Good Samaritan, you know, the Good Samaritan wasn't necessarily, from my understanding, a Christian, just a Good Samaritan, just believed in the golden rule, do it unto others as you would have them do unto you, respect. Respect goes a long ways, and it heals and it helps. You know what I'm saying? It support, it ministers. You know, so that's what I mean.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think that we struggle as black men with self-love? Because you said, when I said, what do you think is the most challenging thing? And you said self-love. Why do you think that is, that we have that struggle? Why do you think that's one of the biggest challenges? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that exists?
Well, conditioning. I mean, because that's like a twofold answer for you. You know what I'm saying? As a Christian, we know that, what I'm saying, it's good and evil that's been set before man in this world to choose from, to live and govern his life. Uh, but in the natural, I would say that a conditioning, because of man fearful of man, and just
So
the
when you say
nature
condition,
itself.
so why do you think? What is the conditioning? What do you mean when you say conditioning? That the conditioning has brought about this self-deprecation, this self. I don't know. I would say self-hate, or just this lack of love for ourselves. It's not necessarily self-hate, but if you don't love yourself, then
Mhm.
what do you do? So why do you think that is? What does that come from? When you said conditioning, From what? From what conditions us to think this way and believe this way?
Well, from being brought to this country as
Hmm.
slaves and then being conditioned to always feel, what I'm saying, inferior and lesser than, even though in a lot of the Africans' hearts, they knew they were proud and they knew who they were and they knew that they came from royalty and they had love for, you know, themselves, their tribes, their earth, and but the conditioning due to what slavery had brought about. You know what I'm saying? It just in order to survive, you succumb to that. You know what I'm saying? It was consistent, and even in this day and time, it's still consistent in a different form. It may not be from a physical whooping or anything, but it comes across, economically. You know what I'm saying? Psychologically. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for the words. Seem like the words I'm not coming up with the
It's
words that
okay.
I'm looking. But so in saying using that word conditioning, it's a continuous bombardment of uh, of being constantly opposed. Maybe that's a pretty good word. Constantly opposed and opposing who you are. If you remember Roots, I
I
think it
do.
was Kenta Kunte, but Toby, they kept trying to give him a new name. And he kept telling them his real name. And they kept doing it. And he kept telling them his real name. So he knew his worth and
They kept
value.
beating him. I remember,
Yeah.
right? I remember the movie, and I remember they kept the slave master was beating him with the whips while he was hung on this tree or wherever he was hung from, and kept telling
Yes.
him that his name is Toby, and he kept saying, "No, my name is Kunta Kinte," and
Yes.
they just kept beating him like they were going to beat him to death until he acquiesces and
Hmm.
succumbs to uh, what they say his name is. How is that played out today in America for black men? Period. How's that played out? Where do you see that played out in? I mean, they don't whip us on the tree anymore, but what do they do to us to make us think less of ourselves?
Well, wow. Ooh, that's real good. What and any other time I can talk with my big mouth. I can come back. But now I'm on the spot. Wow. What's done is
Let me ask this then.
education.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
So talk
I
about it. When you
believe,
say education, talk about that.
and it's something. It's education from the time that we were able to receive education, and there were a lot of Africans who did move on to receive education. As we know, a lot of Africans could read. I had relatives that were Africans, slaves, and some of them could read. We found that out through some of our history and some of the archives that some of my family members have, that some of them could read, which was very dangerous. Um,
Let me say this then. Let me ask this then.
Go ahead.
What do you think about the perceptions, the false perceptions about who we are as black men? The false perceptions that all of us are drug dealers or gang members or deadbeat fathers or lazy or uneducated. What do you think about those false perceptions, those negative false perceptions?
Do whatever they may fabricate in their minds, you know what I'm saying? Vengeance or what have you.
What do you think the solution is? What do we need to do as black men to counter the false narratives, the false perceptions uh, that are projected about us in today's society that keeps us disliking ourselves or looking down on ourselves or not loving ourselves? What do you think the solution is? What do you think we must do as black men to counteract that?
One of the things what you're doing here with the podcast, I'm quite sure there's, numerous podcasts that do similar similar work, and just, not to despise any efforts that are made, as I was saying before, such as just the old saying is each one teach one, just just helping wherever you can. You know what I'm saying?
That's
On
right.
on that scale into a larger venue where, of course, there's other venues out there where, what I'm saying, uh they have a much broader network and finances and what have you. I mean, just to continue.
Okay. Okay. Well, so
I
let
don't
me
know if
ask you.
I'm
We got
making a
to.
lot of good sense, because
You are making
these are really
sense.
some good, these are really some good questions.
I
These
mean,
are
you are
some
making sense. So thank you.
really good questions.
Yeah. Let me then. So let me say, ask this, then, and then, um, given all of this, what do you think is the most rewarding thing about being a black man in America?
Wow. Wow. The most rewarding. Um, wow. Ooh, that's very good. Um, the most rewarding is, the fact that God uses us, and shows forth his light in us to an oppressing system that has been bombarding, beating us down for years. And people can see that, you know, and know that this is, strength that that an ordinary human being just doesn't manufacture. This comes from a spiritual, a spiritual power, that doesn't give the human being the glory, but it gives the unseen God the glory. If you know what I'm saying.
I do. I
And
do. I
they
know exactly
they
what you're saying.
recognize that. I'll say this: the whole world knew that Dr. King loved God, and they saw that. It was all races, all religions, and they all said, "Wow, this is a man of God here." And I'm not even part of his religion, but I know that that's God. You know what I'm saying? And so the enemy had to devise a plan to stop that. Said, "Well, let's just shoot him and kill him." You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I think of. You know what I'm saying? Is that, I use that as an analogy, you know,
That's powerful.
and
That's
he
powerful,
was just
brother.
an ordinary man. He wasn't perfect, you know,
That's right.
but the whole world saw. They saw
Yeah.
God. Even if they didn't serve the same religion, they said, "We know well enough to know that that's
Yeah.
God." And the whole world knew
Right.
it. And they couldn't deny it. Couldn't deny it. So the same
Right.
for us. You know what I'm saying? I see Christ exemplified through you and in your program, because this is a first for me. So I'm nervous. So I
But
appreciate
you
you
don't
asking.
you don't act like it, man. You're good. You're good. Good. I know we have like 2, 3 minutes left here, and I just want to ask you two final questions. Um, as we close, uh, what final words would you say to the brothers who are listening to you right now? What final words would you say to them? That's one. And then lastly, what favorite quote or book or song or whatever uh, really encourages you? Is there one that you can say and then say, this is really encouraging to me?
Well, I would like to say to Black men, um, continue, because I'm quite sure this an endless number of Black men who really love themselves and love other Black men who really wanted to see us all thrive and achieve and you know and go on to be successful. Uh, just continue doing that and constantly remind ourselves that this is how we survive. This is how we survive. You know what I'm saying? Is by understanding that it's important for me to love my brother, to encourage in him, and help him to survive, helps me to survive. Because if not, if I'm out to destroy him, eventually it'll turn the law of reciprocity. It'll turn
Yeah.
and destroy me too. And so it's real simple. You got to choose one. And my scripture would be Psalms 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinner, nor sits in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And thereupon does he meditate day and night. He should be like a tree planted by the rivers of water to bring forth his fruit in his season, and his leaves should not wither. Whatsoever he do shall prosper. For the ungodly are not so, but what should like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore, the Lord knows the way of the ungodly, but the way, of the, sinner, you know what I'm saying? She'll perish. But there's more to that. But that's one of my favorite ones.
Wow. Well, thank you, brother. Thank you, Brother Randy, for
Yeah.
joining us on today's show. Thank you all. You have been listening to YANA, a space for Black men. We look forward to seeing you next time in space. And remember, we're never meant to do life alone. Grace and peace, everyone. YANA is here for you. This is your space to connect, grow, and be heard, because none of us are meant to do life alone.